Hi, this is Brett Hodson with Bangor Inc. I want to welcome everybody to our webinar this afternoon. It's going to be covering one of the HH2 products for accounts payable invoice routing approval, credit card invoices. Really excited to bring this to you guys today. A couple quick things about HH2. We have a long working relationship with this vendor. We have a lot of customers using the products, very satisfied with how they operate. A couple key points. The HH2 products are cloud native products. So what that means for you is that they're quite easy to access and use. The second thing is that's really unique about the HH2 product line is that they work both with the existing, what we call Windows PC legacy products, as well as the new next generation cloud native products. So folks that are currently on Sage 100 contract or Sage 300 construction can use those products with those platforms. And the great thing about them is you can continue to use the HH2 products at some point in the future when you're ready to move to that next generation cloud ERP system. So with that, I'm not going to steal any more of Britton's thunder and turn the floor over to him. Thanks, Britton.
Awesome, thanks, Brett. And you've never stolen my thunder. We just are grateful for the opportunity and love the audience here and the platform to be able to talk through HH2 with your customers. So thank you for that introduction. As mentioned, we've had a long-time relationship with Bangor and Brett and his team, so couldn't be more thrilled to be here today. What we're going to do is we're going to cover a couple items about who HH2 is and how our system works. A little bit of backend about this AP solution and some tools that are built into it, a few that Brett already mentioned. And then from there, we're actually going to dive into a demo and cover some common use cases. We do welcome any questions. Brett typically is good to watch the questions panel for us, so I'll have him chime in if there's any questions there, if you're okay with that, Brett.
Absolutely, I have to do something to earn my keep.
There we go. So if there are questions, again, we'll make sure we get to those in the presentation. If there are any questions that we can't get to, just know that we will be more than happy to follow up with you directly. So we'll coordinate, and I know Brett and his team are great to make sure that we're all looped in and we follow up with any items we can't get to in today's presentation. So I've shared my screen out. Right now we have the HH2 logo pulled up here in the slide deck. We're just going to cover a couple quick items of how this is being functioned. Now this is being recorded, so just the first question I always get is, hey, if we need a copy of this, someone couldn't attend, no worries. What we cover today is going to be recorded, and we'll make sure that's distributed to Bangor and to you as well, so that you have a copy of that. Now, as mentioned, HH2 is a fully hosted cloud solution. So what that means is we're available on many different devices. So whether it be a web browser or phone or tablet, we have many different interfaces that are going to be available within this solution. We'll talk through some different resources as we walk through the product, but just know you can kind of take whatever items you would like and use HH2 for your different personnel. Now, one key aspect with our product is to understand how we integrate. So it was mentioned that we integrate with some of these on-premise accounting systems. We also integrate with many of these cloud-based systems that you might have been evaluating, and maybe you have plans to move to those in the coming months or years. Well, HH2 can be used with both of those different options, but the integration works in a very similar way. We have integration direct with the accounting system, and we'll pretend like this building on the right here represents the accounting system. Maybe it's housed on the cloud or in-house, but we directly synchronize your data to our cloud platform, regardless of where it's hosted. That allows us to have your jobs and cost codes and vendors and other relevant information that we're going to need to streamline some of your AP processes. So we pull it from the system of record and we automatically pull that to HH2 in the cloud. That is a continuous integration. So as you add new information, there's nothing you have to do. The integration works on its own to pull that information to HH2 in the cloud. Once we have your data, we'll talk through some different user interfaces and processes to navigate through that. So whether you're out on the job site, people are in the home office, you're traveling, working from home, you can access HH2 many different areas. All right. Now, if there are any questions on this, again, feel free to throw those into the chat panel. We want to make sure that this is pretty clear and concise, but the relevant AP information that you're going to need to review, code, and approve invoices, credit cards, reimbursements, those items are coming directly from the accounting system. Now, just so you're aware, in today's demo, here's what we're going to cover. We're going to walk through how the whole system works. We're going to cover your invoice acquisition process for vendor invoices. We're going to talk about customizing an approval workflow in HH2. We're going to touch on how to use company credit cards or employee reimbursements or expenses. If there's time and interest, we'll talk about subcontractor payment applications. That's a tool that's part of this as well. One comment I always like to make is you might look at this list and say, wow, that's more than we need. That's a little bit in excess of what we would intend to use this product for. Well, the great portion of this product from a consumer perspective is if you only need it for invoices and credit cards, you could just use it for those areas, as it's all part of the platform, and we can simply sell you the areas that you need. So pretty simple there, but just wanted to make a point of that. So for today's walkthrough, we're going to start looking at your invoices. So we'll walk through how to handle your standard invoices from your material suppliers that you're getting today, and walk through that process, and we'll take a look at the other features as we walk through the demo. Now, the last slide we're going to look at here just identifies how we get information into HH2. So whether you're getting emails sent from your vendors, and that's how you're getting the invoices sent today. Maybe you get paper invoices and you scan them into a folder, or maybe you scan them into someone's email. Maybe you have guys that get items out in the field, like a receipt. HH2 can capture items from our mobile device. We have a web upload that you can do from a web browser, and we even have a vendor portal that can be used. And the whole goal here is we want to make it easy to get information acquired into our system. So most commonly, we have an email that's being monitored. Maybe you have an invoices or AP at your company name, and HH2 simply monitors that email folder and pulls the images into our system. So pretty simple and pretty clean there. Now, once we have your data, we'll walk through how we navigate through it, provide the right information, and then route that data for approval. So let's go ahead and take a look at HH2 from a web browser perspective. In this instance, I'm logged in as an admin, and we're going to walk through some of the AP process today. Now, on the left-hand side of my screen, there's a couple different icons. I'm going to click on the AP icon for our AP product. We're going to pull up our main menu. I'm logged in as an admin on one of my demo sites here, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Document Acceptance. Now, as a quick note, when you log into HH2, you're going to have a unique website to go to. So you simply pull up a web browser, go to your website to log into HH2. Now, in this document acceptance queue, this shows me all the invoice images that have been pulled into the system. It's really simple. I can see all the images. I can see any that have been divided out because maybe there's multiple PDFs that got pulled into the system. We just separate them out. I can double click on any image to see the full rendering. Maybe it came in scanned sideways, upside down, backwards. Go ahead and review those. Once I've reviewed those pages, we simply allow you to select the pages that belong together. Maybe these 3 pages are one invoice. I select thumbs up approval. Maybe this is actually better fit as the first page. And when I accept that, that's going to group those as a 3-page invoice that we're going to route for approval. And we have some different tools at the top here for filtering, sorting. You can adjust the size of these thumbnails. You can filter based on how items came into the system, and then even filter based on newest to oldest or oldest to newest. For today, I'm going to go in and actually upload a document from my desktop. I could have dragged and dropped as well, but we'll just upload it there. And I'm going to filter this to newest at the top so I can grab that invoice. So here's an 8-page invoice, and we're going to use this for our demo today. I could select all of the pages or specific pages, maybe just pages 1 through 4 is one invoice and I want to divide this up. If that's one invoice, we can go ahead and just accept that and then accept the remaining 4 pages. Pretty simple there. So that's document acceptance. Once we accept the images, we're going to move into a different interface called data entry. Now, both of these are permission-based, so if you have different people that do these roles, we can support different assignment in HH2. Once we get in data entry, each of these images represents an invoice that's been brought into the system. We can see the page count and some detail about that. If I go ahead and click on the total page here for 4 and click on that thumbnail, it pulls up a full data entry detail page, so I can see the main image, the pages, and this is where we're going to get into the detail of providing information about this invoice. Now, behind the scenes, HH2 has an OCR function that reads the image and can help us in auto-filling information so we don't have to hand key it. You'll notice that at the top right here under our header and vendor field, the vendor's already filled out. HH2 pulls in all your vendors from the accounting system, and then we attempt to automatically pull the vendor in looking at the vendor's name and contact information. So I was able to find this vendor that this is mapped to in my system. Now, the header fields that you're going to have available come from the ERP. So if you use different header fields or different terms, just know that's something we pull over from your exact setup. So you might look a little different than this. But as a one-time setup to streamline the data entry portion, you're going to click on these capture fields rather than hand keying the invoice number, date, or amount. And you can simply tell us in the future as a one-time setup, here's where the invoice number is found. And everything that was selected in blue is able to be grabbed because we've OCR'd the image and we can read the text. And once you've mapped that, our system remembers for that unique vendor. So it's a one-time setup for each vendor. Once you've done that, if you click autofill here at the top, it'll just pre-fill just like that. So pretty easy, pretty clean. Set it up, fill it, and you are good to move on. All right. Now, in this example, if I click approve header, so I can start coding and then routing this, this is going to flag me and tell me, hey, this invoice already exists. So we check for duplicates in the system. We also synchronize historical invoices to make sure that we don't run something through that you've hand keyed into the accounting system. So we try to check in both worlds as part of our integration. For today, we're going to call this the Bangert 123 invoice, just for ease of use. And I'm going to go ahead and change the invoice date. We're going to change the amount. And then I'll go ahead and change a couple other date fields as well, just for uniqueness during today's presentation. Now, obviously, most times that's going to be pre-filled anyway. Now, once we are happy with the header information, we get into the job cost or the coding of this. And every company is a little bit unique, but a few concepts to understand. First off, HH2 is going to have a list of your distribution fields based on the details that you have set up today. So if you code to a commitment, I refer to that as a subcontract or purchase order. That's going to be pulled over from the accounting system. If you don't use those fields wouldn't show up. Again, this pulls from your actual setup. A lot of companies are going to be coding to jobs, cost codes, categories, GL or expense accounts. You might use a different terminology for it, but the same concepts are going to be there. And then as we drill down for the job list here, I could either start typing in this box to pull up my list of jobs by name or number, or I could come in and pull up my job selector. So whatever you're coding to today, we're going to replicate that information. Now, a lot of companies ask, well, what if I have an invoice that's broken out to multiple jobs or to a job and GL? Is that something that HH2 can support? Absolutely. So let's pretend that this one is coded to a job. I'm just going to type in the job 003 here. And let's say I'm going to allow someone else in the company to fill in the cost code category. Maybe I don't know that. And so as part of our company's process, I fill in the job and someone else fills that as part of the approval process. And I might say, you know what, $500 of this is also broken off, and I'm just going to have that go to a GL. So I'm going to go down and we'll say that's an office expense. You can easily divide this out in any way, shape, or form that you need this company. We try to get through some specifics here of different use cases. So if you code to purchase orders, subcontracts, we have some tools built in for that. But again, what you use is dependent on your company and your needs. So if there are any questions or an instance that's currently turning in your mind of, hey, this is something we do, I wonder how that's handled, or do they handle it, feel free to throw those into the questions panel. But I hope this has given you a good idea of what's possible from this perspective. Now I'm going to delete the second distribution here. We're going to keep this invoice very simple and just code it to one job, and we're going to have someone else fill in the rest of the information. A couple other tools that are available, we have annotations. So down here at the bottom of the invoice, I can go in and I can draw or highlight. So maybe I want to highlight the amount up here. Right, we have a little draw option as well. So some different tools that can be used there. We have a notes field at the top, so I can add a note. Maybe if we can type here. There we go. So again, some different resources that can be used depending on what you provide today. Now, once we're happy with the information provided there, down at the bottom right corner, we have what's called a workflow. A workflow is a fancy term for an approval process. So you determine who is going to review and approve your different items within HH2. We help you create customized workflows. I'll show you that here in a moment. But just know from this screen, we'll have a drop down that you can create the different workflows based on your different approval needs. We even have a little gear icon next to that that allows you to make a change on the fly. Hey, this is a weird invoice. I want to change my approval process as a one-time shift. And so we allow for that. Again, that just depends on what your needs are as a company. So I'm going to route this out through my just standard job manager workflow. You even can use some compliance alerts. So if you're using compliance in your ERP or a compliance in HH2, you can turn on this feature as well to alert people if things are expired. So I have that feature turned on just to demonstrate it, but I'm going to start the workflow and we'll go ahead and move on. Okay. Now, before we leave the website, just want to quickly show you what it looks like from a workflow stand. This is one piece that we ask questions about all the time. Hey, can I do this with your workflow? How easy is it to set up? Want to walk through what that looks like. So at the top here of our workflows, here's my job manager workflow for invoices. In here, it's a pretty simple setup. You click the plus button to add these approval levels, and then you simply determine why someone gets an invoice, and then give them permissions on what they can do. So if I click on this second level of approval, this project manager, it highlights and then shows me some details about this activity. So in here, I've called this step project manager, and then we have a concept called a route type. You get to determine why we're going to route an invoice out and how to determine who gets the invoice. In this example, I'm using a job manager, which is a role for role-based routing. So you can simply have one generic workflow, and behind the scenes, we can tie a job manager to a project and route those items directly to the appropriate person. So really easy. We can pull that from the accounting system and set that up in HH2. Just depends on what you're doing today. And that's some specifics we can help you with. Now, once you determine why they get an invoice, then you have permissions of what they can do. What can they edit? How can they affect the workflow? So really easy to set this up. We help you with this. But from a process standpoint, this is the hardest thing to set up because it requires you to think through your process if you don't have a formal approval today. If you do, it's pretty easy to plug that in. Okay. Now, this is a pretty simple workflow. I have another level of approval that goes for any GL or overhead related stuff. We have roles and people assigned to that as well. You could route to named users. You could put on different routing rules to route to certain people if it's over dollar amounts. So just know that we support that. But I'd like to show a very simple version of it because most people, simple is best. Now, if I go back to my list of approval workflows, you'll notice there's a type here, a column called type. This allows you to create workflows for all your different types of AP related items that you run through our system. So invoices, credit cards, reimbursements, payment applications, those are all available to set up. So a lot of functionality there, and just be aware that we help you in setting and customizing those. Now with that, I think we've covered a good amount of items on the office level here. Let's talk through what some of your field users might want to use the system for. So we're going to look at two different perspectives. We're going to look at HH2 from a phone to review and approve invoices and to upload some receipts. And then we're going to come back to the web browser to talk through what it looks like from an approver. If you say, you know what, my guy's never going to use his phone, show me a web browser, we're going to show you that perspective as well. While I'm pulling up my phone there, do we have any questions or any comments you'd like to make, Brett, or are we doing okay?
Whoops, I was muted. I think at this point, things seem pretty straightforward, Britton, so I'd say just continue on.
Perfect. Thanks for being my segue while I'm getting my phone pulled up there. Brett, I just wanted to make sure that if you had any tidbits to chime in, we always appreciate that, so thank you. All right, so here we have a live stream from my phone. So this is an iPhone, but we have a native app for Android devices as well, if you prefer that platform. Here we have HH2 document flow. So if I am a user that needs to review and approve invoices, we can actually send them push notifications to let them know when they have invoices for approval. And then we also have a daily email or daily push notification reminder that just lets them know, hey, you have 20 invoices in your queue, and that can be sent either way. So some nice little gentle reminders to let people know what they have in their queues. Let's go ahead and just tap on the app to pull that up here. And here we have a list of invoices that are assigned to this user, this approver. So if I scroll through, you can see we have some details about the vendor, the amount, some of the coding listed there. Again, pretty simple. We're seeing all these invoices that are in this user's queue. And this user obviously is behind. They got a lot they need to work on, so we better get to work. Okay, now you can scroll through the whole list here if you'd like until we find the Bangyard invoice that we wanted today. You also can search at the top there. So if I knew the name or the number of the invoice or the amount that I'm looking for, there's some different tools built around that there. Okay, so pretty darn simple to be able to find that detail. All right, I was thinking that one would be a little bit closer there, but let's go ahead and just search for Bangyard. Again, my convenience makes it easy there. Let's go ahead and dive right into that. Now, I turned on a feature that just pulls up the notes automatically. So you'll notice it just popped up that note that I input. That's an option you can turn on. A lot of companies like the guys to be forced to look at the notes. And then there we go. There's those annotations I made earlier. All right. And I can zoom in and look at those details there. All right. Down here at the bottom, if everything looked good, I could approve the invoice. I could manually route it to someone else if there was something of concern. And then we have some different actions at the bottom right corner to reject or reroute, add notes, view the history of where this invoice has been. But most times you want to get into the details of this. Up at the top right, there's a distribution section. Let's dive into that. Well, it pulls up the distribution. This was already coded to the job, which is why I'm getting this today. And I can simply fill out the remaining distribution fields that I'm responsible for. Now, if these were already filled out, you might just be reviewing it and then clicking the approve button at the bottom. When I tap on the code here, the list of cost codes are going to be pulled from that job setup. So we're going to be able to see what's set up on the actual budget from the accounting system. And you'll see here we have some favorites. You can favorite certain cost codes you commonly use. Okay, if I'm no longer using drywall, I can even remove it from my favorites. Could search by name or number. If I'm working on concrete, go ahead and plug that in. And then again, the category is pulled from the budget as well. So we're actually showing what your plan was for this particular project there. If I wanted to split this out, we can split this out using this little split icon on the left-hand side of that distribution. If I'm happy with it, I can approve it and move on. For today, we're going to save it. Okay, and I will come back to that a little bit later. Okay, now while we're here on the phone, let's talk a little bit about some of the other functions that are part of this product. Typically, showing a receipt capture from a phone is ideal because a lot of companies have guys that have phones, make purchases, and need to get receipts in. And what better than the camera you have in your pocket? So from the same app, at the top left, we can pull up a side menu that allows us to view or capture receipts. So let's go ahead and click on Quick Receipt. Here we have a quick receipt of a fuel receipt I had from the other day. Snap the photo there of that receipt. All right, let me see if I can zoom in on this here for you. So this is a purchase of fuel for $119.46. Right? This is when fuel was even more affordable back in May. So this is replicating what an end user would experience. They snap the photo. Down below here, we can have some information about the purchase, such as the card number that's assigned to this user if they're a company credit card holder. If this was a reimbursement, they could have access to submit a reimbursement as well instead of a company card. And rather than keying all of the description, the date and the amount in, we have a quick little OCR button. Tap on that, plugs in very quickly and accurately the description of where we're at, the date, and the amount. Okay, down at the bottom, you click on the orange Submit to Code, and we can plug in our job, cost code, category, GL account, equipment. Again, based on what you're using today in the accounting system, it's going to be some of that same detail. Okay, so if I wanted to code this to a job, cost code, and category, this particular cost code or list is only 5 deep for that job. So we'll go ahead and plug that in and we're good to go. Now from the end user perspective, maybe I want to add a note. I can use my microphone rather than typing. And at the end of the day here, we just save that, and then we have some different tools to validate and route these for approval. So really simple, really easy from the end user perspective. Snap it, save it, and then move on. All right. So that is the receipt capture from the phone. Now we understand that not all users want to use every device, but know that our system can be used on any of these devices interchangeably. So let's go ahead and move over from the phone. Let's move back over to the web browser. We're going to log in as Tom Brooks, the exact same user was just logged in on my phone. Under where it says welcome back Tom, is a quick link to go to invoices. I'm going to click there, and it's going to pull up a list of invoices just like we saw before. And I'm just going to search for that $4,500 invoice. There we go. Again, that automatic note pop-up is triggered for this user. And then we can just dive right in just like we had before. This looks identical to our data entry screen. Same functionality, annotations, notes, coding, all those actions at the top. Same detail there. So pretty cut and dry, pretty simple, just a different user interface for the same information. Once I'm happy with it, I click approve, and we're good to go. Now, another tool that I like to share that's really helpful from an approver perspective is what if I need to see something I've already approved? Well, HH2 has a nice interface called an invoice list that's built into the system and can be enabled for your users, where they can look at things they've already approved or things that need their approval. So this invoice list here has some different filter and sorting tools. So I could look at maybe something for a different job or vendor from last week or month, filter on the date range or different date fields. You can actually select and export into Excel or into a PDF if you need to pull up some invoices from last week for a particular job. You can easily compile them out of our system right here from this invoice list. Now, we also have this little filter button at the top left that allows you to create commonly used filters. Maybe you check on a similar scenario. Hey, we always check on this particular job lately, so I'm going to create a filter and save it for that. And then you have a drop down of, hey, this is job 1, 2, 3 with these different filters, rather than having to add them all, especially if you're adding multiple filters. If you click on the add button, this will pull up an overlay where we have some detailed filters that you can drill down to based on how things were routed or how they were coded. So vendor, jobs, cost codes, categories. You know, commitment is a subcontractor purchase order. Again, a lot of cool stuff there. All right. If you're using our system for multiple different types of documents like credit cards and invoices, this allows you to see those documents and drill down to, hey, this is what I want to work on today. All right. Now, what's cool about this invoice list is it's permission-based. So you can't see company-wide unless you're an admin. If I'm an approver, I can simply see everything that is assigned to me as an approver. Okay, or has been if it's already been exported. All right, so pretty simple there. So let's go ahead and log out as our approver, and let's log in as our admin again. So let's pretend like we've gone through all steps of our approval process. You might have more steps of approval, but again, for demo purposes today, we'll consolidate that down. And I'm going to log in and pull up my main menu from my admin. And instead of going into some of the screens we've already seen, let's take a look at admin screen that's helpful to look at an aging report for invoices. This allows me to see all the invoices that are currently waiting on approval company-wide. And you can see we have an aging summary by different date ranges here. Currently, I'm displaying it by vendor. I can see where our pain points are by vendor, who we owe the most money to right now that hasn't been paid, hasn't been approved. Up at the top here, I could specify a specific user. I could change which date field we're aging off of. Or you can even change how we're displaying the data. A lot of companies like to come in here and look at this by user. So from accountability perspective, one of the main questions we get is, hey, I really need to get eyes on where my bottlenecks are. How can I make this process more efficient? This is a great tool to accomplish that. So here in the 61 plus days overdue, we have way too many invoices. I can see Tom Brooks is one of my largest offenders of this, and I can actually click on that number and the amount and number of invoices. And when I pull that up, it's going to show me in the invoice list by adding a bunch of filters to show me just that data. And then in here, I can drill down, I can see the notes. I could skip these to my level so we can get them paid. It gives me a lot of insight very quickly, showing me all that data. All right, not that you have to use all these tools, but we find them more often than not, they're going to be a very popular and very helpful tool to use within HH2. Now, from the same invoice list, if I remove all these filters, and let's say I'm ready to get this information out of HH2 and into the accounting system, we have a concept called a status. This lets us know where things are at in the process. This can be used for review and reporting, and is also helpful in getting information out of HH2 and into the accounting system. So rather than looking at things that are waiting on approval progress, that are in data entry or been exported, we're going to look at the final review state. And final review is items that have been approved and are waiting to be pushed into the accounting system. In addition, you could layer on other filters. So if you wanted dates or vendors or jobs or document types, you could layer those filters on when you're getting ready to export, or for any other purpose as well. Now in HH2, there's two different ways to trigger the automatic push of invoices into the accounting system. The first way is to have them come to final review here. You review them, and then you either individually select or batch select which invoices you want to push in. Click the export button. Once you click OK, those are going to be pushed into AP, and their respective ERP. Now, there's details about where they go and how they show up in there that might vary. For most accounting systems, they're going to be in as an approved invoice that's ready to be paid in the accounting system. And then HH2 pushes in a URL link so you can view that directly in the accounting system, which is great. Now, we have one other option of getting invoices synced in to the accounting system. Some companies have the workflow where they don't really have a final review concept because someone in their review process is part of that. And it's kind of redundant to have them come in and then say, okay, let's now push these in. I've already approved them. I'm part of the review process. So we have a setting you can turn on that instead of waiting for this final review, once the final approver has approved that invoice, we just push them in automatically. So depending on your workflow and your company's policies, you might find that one of those processes works a little bit better. Now, what's cool about the invoice list here from an admin perspective is you have all those same tools to filter, sort, select, dump the information down to Excel. Maybe I need some backup into a PDF. I can generate a PDF here. We can include the annotations. I can include a page that shows me the audit trail and the coding and payment details. So I can pull one of those up here real quick. And it just really depends on what you need and what your role is, but always like highlighting some of these popular features there. Okay, and I must have some old data there that's not liking. Now, we didn't cover every nook and cranny of this product, and it's very challenging to do so in one setting. So if you have questions on specifics of the workflows, how we handle credit cards and reimbursements, what that workflow looks like, we recommend scheduling a one-on-one presentation with our team. And that can be done by reaching out to us directly, or you can reach out to your Bangor rep and we can get coordinated together to walk through some specifics. So where we're at right now is I want to open it up for any general questions on what we've covered today, any specifics that you might have on your workflows or how the system might function. And then we'll kind of wrap it up here and make sure that we're all on the same page. And I haven't seen any questions come in yet, but we'll give everyone just a minute to kind of settle, because I know we've covered a lot around this particular product.
Yeah, so I had, there was a couple that I saw here, Britt. One was, can you describe the typical installation implementation process? Generally, how long does it take? That sort of thing.
Great question. So the implementation of this product is usually fairly quick. Because we synchronize so much information from the accounting system, when we go to implement this product, most of the implementation is around the workflow and then the user setup and training. So what we find is a new company comes on board, they say, we're excited, we've synced your data into our HH2 environment, and we want to get to work. Well, we'll create you some user accounts, create your workflows of how you want things to be routed, and then we'll walk through step-by-step training for each user. So you might have admins that go through the acceptance and coding process. We might have approvers that go through on different devices. How do I approve and review this item? How do I make changes? That's all part of the installation and that implementation process. And then usually the last step is getting that information pushed into the ERP.
Great. One other one I see here is, can you talk to the licensing structure of the product? Is it, per user? Is it named, concurrent? How does that work?
Great question there, and a great lead in. So the pricing for this particular product is actually usage-based. It's a little different. So what we're going to look at is how many documents you're going to route through the system on a given month. So the pricing is looking at a total unique invoice. So if it has 10 pages, it counts as one document. But the way that works, it's pretty simple. We'll just figure out what your monthly cost is going to be based on your usage. So if I'm a company that has 500 vendor invoices and maybe I have 300 credit cards, we just aggregate that total. So your monthly cost would be the 701 to 800 or 801 to 900, depending on where you fall. and that would be your monthly cost to use HH2 document flow. So no licenses or users. And what's also cool about this is you're not going to have a separate fee for your like OCR or any of the features. We package all that in. So everything I showed you today is part of the product. You're not going to have to upgrade to, oh, that's a really cool feature, but is it worth it to upgrade? We want you to use it all because it's all based on using the product and making sure you're happy and successful with that. Oh, great question, Brett. Thank you.
Sure, you bet. I don't see anything else on the queue on my end, Britton.
Perfect. No, those are great questions. So let me just pull up my information. So if you do want to reach out, you have my information here. Again, my name is Britton Bauer here at HH2. I have my email and my phone line that you can reach out if there's questions, or feel free to reach out to Brett or anyone on his team. We work together often, and they can fill in some gaps or they'll loop us in to answer some of those questions. I know Brett and his team love to follow up, so I'm sure you'll be hearing from their team as well as getting a link to this recording from GoToWebinar. So there's going to be plenty of options to get some of those answers for any questions. If you do have other questions on the products, just if you go to our website and click on hh2.com and click on products, you can see a list of all of our products that we offer. We have time entry and some other solutions out there. But more importantly, if you click on learn more for the AP solution, there's some quick resources. Say, hey, I wanna watch a more high level demo. I want to share something with my team. I want to get a product sheet or a short video. That's all available right on the website for you.
Fantastic. Well, thanks a lot, Britton. I want to thank everybody for attending our session today. We really appreciate you guys taking time to spend with us, learning about this product solution and a little bit more about HH2. Again, feel free to reach out to any of us. We'll certainly get back to you and take care of your questions. And again, thanks for attending and have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, everyone.